Chittaprasad Bhattacharya is internationally known for his woodwork. That's an iconic poster. And this is his gift to my father. My father didn't commission him.
Welcome to Creative Talkative with Ketki Tewary.
Yeah, we're creative and talkative. There's no stopping this. There's no topping this. Time to explain what's in our veins, what's in our minds. Take a peek into these lives. Yeah, we're creative and talkative. There's no stopping this. There's no topping this.
Today on Creative Talkative, we are getting talkative with Rinki Roy Bhattacharya, who is a published author besides being a veteran journalist and a documentary filmmaker. She has been a recipient of several prestigious scholarships and honorary doctorates. Having lived her life on her own terms, she personifies strength and resilience like no other. Thank you so much for letting us get a sneak peek into your journey. How do you feel about talking with us today?
I'm excited and I'm very happy that you think it's worthwhile talking to me and bringing out things from behind the scenes, which is actually the title of one of my books on my father. You know, my first single author book on Madhumati is called Untold Stories from Behind the Scene. Bimal Roy's Madhumati, Untold Stories from Behind the Scene. So there is always stories which excite you, which people haven't seen.
Correct.
So that is something I really like to explore in my work and in my writing and all that, even in my documentary films.
You know your father, Mr. Bimal Roy, and I can't speak enough about him because he's an institution in himself. I think he's India's finest directors and filmmakers. Do Bhiga Zameen, Madhumati, like you said. Then there is Sujata, Devdas,
Bandini,
Parinita.
Correct.
These are all classics. And I think he's also won several awards and accolades for his work.
Yes, of course.
And if I may say that, I think, he is like a textbook in filmmaking for the new age filmmakers. So how was it growing up and where were you born, brought up?
Born in Calcutta.
Okay.
But I didn't spend much time in Calcutta because my father moved to Bombay.
Mm-hmm.
And since then I've been in Bombay. So, I love Calcutta. I love Bengal. Anything Bengali, food, clothes, and so did my father. But we grew up in Bombay, and most of my education has been in Bombay.
Okay.
In the best of institutions like the Elphinstone College, Sophia College. So those are places I studied. And I think it was absolutely marvelous growing up with my father because, our house was not like a filmy home at all.
Okay.
There's so much of culture. There was literature. We had, we were encouraged to read books and maintain Bengali text. I'm the only person in my family who knows Bengali. My brother, my sister, my children, none of them know to read and write Bengali. And that's thanks to my father because, he would get us the latest children books in Bengali. And we had Rabindra Sangeet. We were, encouraged to learn music, learn dance.
Correct.
All that part of growing up in a Bengali home,
Yeah.
I would call my father one of the finest minds.
Yes.
Finest creative minds of India.
Yes.
He truly was a pioneer because he is ahead of his time. If you see his films today, not only did he inspire people like Satyajit Ray and Mrinal Sen and everyone, even Ashutosh Gowarekar, who's today's director, they all claim their inheritance and their indebtedness to my father.
No, I think what the beauty of work like this is that it's relevant whenever you see it.
Correct.
So, when you see the older Parinita or even Do Bhiga Zameen, it's relevant even today,
Sure, Do Bhiga Zameen is it's a metaphor today.
Yes.
Of the, farmers' suicide, their condition. People go back to Do Bhiga Zameen every now and then.
Right.
It's mentioned in the parliament also.
Right.
People talk about the film.
Yeah.
And, they bring parallels to that. That's where it began. I have my father's legacy and also my mother. She was a remarkable photographer.
Yes.
One of the two best known women photographers of her time.
Wow.
So can you believe she was born in 1919? And for her to be somebody is doing a PhD on her in Cambridge. So, I have this entire legacy. It's very challenging.
You have probably explored every aspect of creativity in that sense with the various things that you've done. in your life. I would like to speak about your art and costume designing that you did for a few movies, right? So for
Mainly
Anubhav,
for my husband's movies.
okay,
That was by accident.
okay,
In fact, Sharmila Tagore was the heroine of Avishkar, Bashu's Avishkar, and she was playing a housewife. So Bashu didn't believe in hiring a costume designer, so he went to explore her costumes. And can you imagine Sharmila having anything very, I mean, cottony or something very sida sada? And then he explored my this thing. And he took my sari. I had nothing to say. So she's wearing my sari. And that's why I've got the credit for the costume.
oh, okay,
Yes.
yeah, but even
And
art
he shot in my
direction.
house. So, you can see the way I do my house. I'm very aesthetic. So I had to
Right.
do up the house in 2 days. And I get the credit for doing design and interior design and costume.
Another interesting thing that I've read is that you recorded ambient nature sounds for Sujata, which was your
Oh,
father's film.
yes. My father used the koel sound very romantically in Sujata.
Okay.
When there's the romantic scenes, and in the background is this, the cuckoo sound, mating sound of the cuckoos, which was recorded by me on a very complicated recording machine called the EMI recorder. Because we lived on the Mount Very Hill and huge garden. There were lots of birds, and that was the mailing season of the cuckoos.
Okay.
So my father was never at home in the afternoon. So he told me, he said, he showed me how to do the recording. He said, whenever you hear the sound, this is how you use it. So I recorded it and used that.
So your connection with theatre, so with Prithvi Theatre, also was an association which went on for quite some time. right?
Yes. I have to give the credit to Jennifer Kapoor.
Okay.
They were just building Prithvi. It wasn't even built. The building wasn't built. So they were looking for somebody who understands theatre and who also can recommend what is good. Because see, Prithvi is not a regular theatre. It's not a proscenium theatre.
Right.
It's a thrust stage. It's a very different kind of a theatre. So they wanted plays which would fit into that kind of a setup.
Okay.
So you must be knowing Firoz Khan,
Yes.
the director.
Yes.
So Firoz, me and Jennifer, we were a very good team for Prithvi.
Okay.
And I remember those days with great joy and pleasure. It was wonderful to work with. Jennifer was a very fantastic human being. Very, very respectful of my work. I was the art critic of Indian Express for many years.
Okay.
Yeah, I reviewed Hussein's and everybody.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Learned on the job. I had no idea what art criticism
Which was my next question. How did you learn?
Absolutely hands-on.
Okay.
I had to. I was forced to. I had to. I had to survive. I was getting about 25, 30 rupees per review, but that was all. I would go madly see all the shows, write the reviews, and there was no. At that time, there was no computer,
Right.
so I would type it, take it back. So quite a struggle, but I enjoyed it.
I hear you also used to anchor a show for DD, which is Doordarshan.
I've done quite a few shows for Max Muller Bhavan. They had this something called East meets West, things like that. All to do with art, Indian culture. And they called me. Then also there was one particular show I remember on DD on the representation of women in cinema.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was actually written by me also, and I was the anchor. I used to actually criticize television shows for the Times of India.
I like the way you say criticize.
I was asked to,
shows.
there's a particular word for it. There's a kind of a jargon for that, but I forget. I was commissioned by Doordarshan itself to criticize their work.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Sitting at home, watching the films and giving them a feedback.
No better job, no?
Yeah.
So Char Diwali was your first documentary.
Yes.
Okay. The first to bring out this problem of domestic violence
Yes.
out in the open in our country.
Yeah.
Right. You also, when I saw Char Diwali, what I realized is it's not only about just the physical abuse. You have spoken about the mental, psychological.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
brought all those aspects.
The victims have talked about it. See, whenever you talk of violence between a man and a woman, people always point it to the working class. Yeah, I've heard my maid being beaten up. So they connected it with a issue of a particular class.
Right.
where it happens. Nobody knew it happens equally or even worse in the upper class, in the elite society.
Right.
So when I spoke about it, I spoke about it from my own personal experience. And I was hell bent. I was so passionate about that. It should come out in the open. So then I said, just look at me. They just, what nonsense you're talking. They complete disbelief in this whole issue. So that made me even more determined. And it was sanctioned for 35mm film. And I had fantastic crew. My editor was Renu Saluja, the most awarded woman.
Right.
And my cameraman was K. Mohanan, who shot fantastic. Today he's one of the leading DOPs of Bombay, Bollywood.
Right.
So, and it was shot in my house because I couldn't take the women out. It had to be done very privately, very confidentially, because the husbands were still around, and I couldn't take their names.
Right.
I could not flash their names on the screen, so it had to be kept in. That kind of secrecy was there.
Right.
But what they've spoken, and very brave of them to sit before a camera and speak. When I gave my story to Manushi, which was about 12-hour interview of mine, which she edited.
12 hours.
Yes.
You
All
sat
night.
and spoke for 12 hours.
She couldn't even put off the recorder. She forgot to put off the recorder. She said, I just can't believe, this complete silence and complete awe. I edited that. It was published in Manushi, which is run by Madhu Kishwar. And that was discussed in the parliament because of who I am. Bimal Roy's daughter, Bashu Bhattacharya's wife.
Right.
So there are so many stories connected even with my coming out.
Right. So at that time to come out, it's not only just about you, right? You're thinking
Right.
about so many different aspects.
Yeah. Nothing
Plus-
mattered. I just wanted, and also later I realized that this was the most therapeutic thing I could do.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Because it was like, coming out with so much of dark secret.
Right.
It is got a huge therapeutic impact.
Your second among my favorites is Janani, right?
Yeah.
So that celebrates motherhood, right? A woman's, the courage to be a mother and then to survive and then to go on to enjoy life as a mother.
Mm-hmm.
So that was inspired by your own experience of being a mom.
No, that was just one day shooting. It's not just in celebration of motherhood. If you see the film closely, it was again shot by Santosh Shivan, who's one of
Santoshan, yes.
Yes, and edited by Kanika, who's like one of the leading editors of India. You see, and it's through paintings and real life.
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
one of the paintings is about a rape of a woman. If you notice it,
Okay.
there's the camera goes down and she's hanging herself, and there's a well below,
Okay.
and then immediately a cut to a child crying. So these are very finer things. It's a whole
Right.
very layered film.
Right.
It's not just about celebration, it's about the whole thing of being a woman.
I think it's very nicely shot also. Even
Yeah.
the music.
Yes,
The music of
Kishori
the movie-
Amonkar.
Kishori Amonkar, who is one of my personal favorites.
Right.
So music is like, it really moves you,
Yeah,
at a
yeah,
very
yeah.
different level.
Yes.
So you're absolutely right when you say that it's layered.
Yes,
And you have
it
to
is.
probably watch it a couple of times.
Yeah,
kind
you have to watch it a couple of
understand.
times.
So you've also written quite a few books about your father, right?
Yes, I have.
So-
One is an anthology, which is a very definitive book on my father. I realized that, when somebody as illustrious as my father, there is no text available on him. There are books on Mehboob Saab, on Guru Dutt, somehow I felt, a bit odd about it. So then I talked to a publishing house and they said, yeah, sure.
Now you have another forthcoming book,
Yes,
right?
it's
You're on
called
the verge
the
of release.
Oldest Love Story.
Okay.
It's edited by me and a friend of mine, Maithili Rao. She's also a renowned
What
film
is that
critic.
about?
This is very difficult to say in one word. Again, it's about the oldest bond. I don't think, oldest love story is between a mother and a child, usually.
Correct. Undoubtedly.
Yeah, so that's the issue.
Okay.
So we have male writers also in that.
Oh, that's
Yes,
very interesting.
Yes, we have Saeed Mirza's thing on his mother, Amni.
Okay.
Beautifully written.
Okay.
His tribute to her.
Right.
And we have very eminent people writing. I'm extremely proud of the
So
book.
you put these are what, essays or stories?
These are
or-
non-fiction. It works two ways. Either I kept it open. I said you write about your daughter or you write about homage to your mother.
Right.
So Shabana has written a homage to her mother,
Right.
and Kalpana, Kalpana Lazmi, who passed away,
Yes.
her mother Lalita has written on her daughter.
what plans for the future?
I can't stop writing. I love writing. That's my first love. In fact, for me, my first love is writing now that the children have grown up. So I'm writing portraits of people, very eminent people, mainly from the film industry, whom I've met. I'm calling it brief encounters. People whom I got to know by accident, and then, profiles of them. Like, for example, I knew Satyajit Ray very well. It's a very personal kind of a writing. And my interaction with him and my memories of him, or Sharmila Tagore, who worked in 2 of my husband's films. So these are people I am just, or Sir Richard Attenborough, whom I interviewed for one of the leading newspapers in Calcutta. So these portraits, let's see if somebody is interested. I'm writing on that. I'm already on the job.
Great, that's great. Something similar to, I think, what we are trying to do with Creative Talkative.
Yes, of course, possibly. Yes.
And thank you so much for taking the time out. I know this is afternoon time; you'll be resting, but yeah,
No, not at
I think
all,
it means a lot. I think we've got some very interesting bites and behind the scenes stories
Yes.
that we would have otherwise not
Missed it out.
We would have missed out. Yeah, about you, about your father.
Thank you
about
so
all the
much.
work.
Yeah.
I hope you had a good time.
I did. Yeah.
Let us tell you what we wanna say. Not about just getting paid or achieving fame. It's about the everyday blood, sweat, and tears, dreams and fears. Everything you gotta hear. Listen, from the first steps to the final leap, making headlines in history. How they did it, it's no mystery. Take a seat, honestly. Yeah, we're creative and talkative. There's no stopping this. There's no topping this. Time for honesty with some novelty. Sit down with KT. You just hit the lottery.
Hope you had as much fun listening as we did talking. Do subscribe for updates on our upcoming episode out every Friday. Like, share, and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, as well as creativetalkative.com. That's creative with a K.